Do you want to pass your real estate exam? Well, vocabulary is primary for you to passing and learning this new language. So let's get with it. All right, so we're continuing with our vocabulary and starting out with the definition and then the term. Well, I had it ready and it lost track. Okay, so we're starting with number 26. So I have several sessions that I'm doing until we cover 301 vocabulary. Okay, so let's get going. So a lease that does not have a fixed rental rate and instead the rental rate is determined by some formula or change in index rate, such as consumer price index. So what is that definition term? Type it in the chat. I'll give you a moment. All right. So that definition is a variable lease. A variable lease. So let's go back really quick. A lease that does not have a fixed rental rate and instead the rental rate is determined by some formula or change in the index rate. That is variable lease. Number 27. A lien that is placed on a property through legal proceedings in the interest of achieving fairness. As you can see on the picture here, a lien. So a lien. So somehow I lost you. My internet connection went down, but here we are. So what is that lien? What type of lien is it that placed on a property through legal proceedings in the interest of achieving fairness? Type your results in the chat. Hi, Iris. Yes, you couldn't see the screen because I got cut off. So can you see the screen now? So that lien is called a constructive lien, also called equitable lien. Okay, a constructive lien, equitable lien, lien that is placed on a property through legal proceedings in the interest of achieving fairness. So somebody didn't pay something off and individuals can put a lien on that property. Banks can do that. Property tax department, the county assessors, they can put liens on the property, contractors and such. Next, decrease in value suffered on a property at the time it is sold. So what is a decrease in value suffered on a property at the time it is sold? So what does it say here on the picture? A little capital loss, and it's got to be reported to IRS. capital loss. Okay, the clue was in the text, but it wouldn't show you the whole word. So a decrease in value suffered on a property at the time it is sold. That is a capital loss. Number 29. A loan that does not meet the lending guidelines established by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. What is that key word? What is that definition? Type it in the chat box if you know. So a loan that does not meet, so depreciation was not the actual keyword for the other one. So this one, a loan, that was capital loss. A loan that does not meet the lending guidelines established by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So it's a type of loan. And it doesn't meet what? The lending guidelines that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac establish. Non-conforming loan. Okay, let's go back. A non-conforming loan okay, click, go back. Boy, internet issues. Okay, a non-conforming loan is a loan that does not meet the lending guidelines. So an individual can go to a bank and a bank can provide types of loans that don't meet Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They buy the loans back, or they buy loans at the third market, third market. They buy them in bulk. That was a non-conforming loan. It doesn't conform to the traditional guidelines of normal loans like FHA, VA, which is Veteran Administration, right? Okay, failure to account for and deliver. So what is the key word definition word for that? Failure to account for and deliver. I know this is a little bit more challenging than giving you the word first and then learning the definition. Here, I'm getting you to think so that you can remember these and pass them. So what is a failure to account for and deliver? Oh, boy. I showed you the results instead of, okay. Occurs when a licensee does not give over monies, other property entrusted to them, to the person entitled to receive it. Okay, so this occurs. So I gave you the words that answer the question. So what occurs when a licensee does not give over monies, other property entrusted to them, to the person entitled to receive it? So the licensee has monies, okay, that was entrusted to us, and the person entrusted to them did not receive it. So that was failure to account for and deliver. So that licensee did not account for the money and deliver it. Tricky this way, huh? Gosh. Okay, so you just got the answer. So payment for an amount that came due in a previous period. Okay, like credit cards, we charge it, we pay it later. Hotels, we live there, we pay it, we stay there, we pay it later, but it's not a debt, right? But it comes due after we use it. So that is a payment is called arrears. Okay, payment in arrears. We use it, then we pay for it. Next, number 32. The increase in value realized on a property at the time it is sold. Okay, so an individual bought a piece of property. They held it for a certain period of time, or they improved it, they remodeled it, they upgraded it, and they sold it. So what is that increase in value realized on a property at the time it is sold? You can type your answers if you know them on the chat box. I know this is different than answering questions, multiple choice questions, right? Which is how you will get them in the exam. But I've got to help you, get you to learn these and pass them. Equity, okay, let's see. Capital gain. So yes, it could be equity, right? If the loan has been paid down, there is equity. But when a property is purchased and the value increases and now it is sold, that increase in the value of the property compared to when it was purchased. So it was purchased for 500,000 and it sold for 600,000. That it did appreciate, so that is true. But what is it called? It's called a capital gain. So the increase in value realized, so they got the money on a property at the time it is sold. It is a capital gain, which investors get. Okay. When you're dealing with, let's say, your taxes, or you want to know the value of your property, yes, then that is appreciated. But what is realized when the property is sold? That is a capital gain. Okay. Now, someone answered equity. Equity is the difference from the current market value and the loan, the loan amount, or the balance amount on that loan. That is equity. So if when it was purchased, they put 10% down, you already have 10% equity. But now the property appreciated and maybe you have another 10% equity, right? And you made payments. So now the equity that you own would be like 20% or more. But this capital gain happens, okay, when a property is sold and they profited from that property compared to when it was purchased. Okay. Oh, yes. Capital gain. I forgot about that one. Yes. Huh? Okay. Number 33, a permanent reference point for a datum, which is the starting point for measuring elevation, right? So this is like for a surveyor, right? It says survey on there, USA Logical Survey. So a permanent reference point for a datum, often a brass market set in concrete. Okay, so, well, if I say another word, I may be giving you the answer. So what is the permanent reference point for a datum? Okay, a significant starting point or any point on the property when a survey is being done. So it has a starting point for measuring the elevation, and not only just for elevation, but for going all around the property and marking the boundary of the property. What is that called? So it says it's often a brass market set in concrete. Not sure what's going on with the internet, guys, today, so just be patient. Okay, so a permanent reference point for a datum, often a brass market set is in concrete is called what? My internet for some reason is slow today, even though we have awesome weather. It's not responding. A benchmark. And yes, it could be like a monument. So very good, Rosaura. A benchmark. A monument point. I was thinking of the word, like a monument. But yes, it is called a benchmark. Marker or reference point used in the meets and bounds method of surveying land. So in Texas, we use meets and bounds with a survey. So what is that marker or reference point used in the meets and bounds method of surveying land? Anyone? I'm giving you a moment to type an answer. A monument. So Susie, the answer you had for the previous question, okay, what is the marker that is like a concrete? You said monument, it was benchmark. So this one, meets and bounds. Okay, when a surveyor is measuring the property and putting markers on each of the corners, or if there's a way, so any property that goes into escrow that a seller wants a survey and the lender requires a survey, okay, the surveyor is going to put markers on the property and put the description of the meets and the bounds, like say, okay, it goes 35 feet northeast, it's part of the southwest corner, and then it goes south 100 feet. That's the description of the surveying, the meets and bounds. So that marker or reference point is a monument, okay? And sometimes they put a metal pin or a wooden stick. So when it was a metal pin and the property has been surveyed, but the ground covered the metal pins and a person doesn't want to pay for a new survey, then a surveyor or an individual that has a metal detector can go and find the corners. But in the days where they use sticks, it's kind of hard to do that. All right, number 35. An estimate of value for an investment property calculated by dividing the sale price, divide the sale price, okay, sales price is above, by gross annual rental income. So the gross annual rental income is at the bottom, right? So sales price divided by gross annual rental income. So what is gross? Before any deductions, right? Before any expenses. So estimate of value for an investment property calculated by sales price divided by gross annual rental income. The gross income multiplier, okay? There's also the gross rent multiplier. This is the gross income multiplier. And why? Because it says sales price divided by gross annual rental income. The other one deals with monthly. So gross annual income divided into sales price. Sales price divided by gross annual rental income is the gross annual multiplier. Gosh, come on. The gross income multiplier, okay? Number 36, an encumbrance or a claim, okay? An encumbrance, a claim on real property. What is an encumbrance on real property? What is an encumbrance on real property? So they refer to an encumbrance as a claim. A lien. So an encumbrance that's attached to a property, it's a claim on the property, is a lien. And you saw the words up here. Claim of lien, right? No, not easement. Easements are not a lien on property. Okay? An easement is a right of way to property. Good morning, Jen. Okay, so an easement is not a lien. It is a right of way access to the property, like the utility companies have access to the back of the property or the front of the property. They have a permanent easement that they don't have to apply for or record. It is part of accessing the power lines, the telephone lines, the water lines, sewage lines, and they have to be given access to doing that. That is an easement. Okay, so for anybody who just came in, we are doing vocabulary. Statement regarding the ways in which a large-scale development will affect the surrounding environment. Okay, so a large development, okay, how can a large development affect the environment? Right? So beautiful environment. So how will expanding or creating a big development? Statement regarding the ways in which a large-scale development will affect the surrounding environment. And you're very welcome. For vocabulary is crucial. Making you guys think. Use your brains, not just memorize. Environmental impact statement. Environmental impact statement. That is a statement regarding the ways in which a large-scale development, a major development, will affect the surrounding environment. Environmental impact statement. See, we're not used to vocabulary like this, right? A no brokerage relationship. So what is a no brokerage relationship? Anybody? What is a no brokerage relationship? Non-representation. Right? When we have a brokerage signed agreement, a listing agreement, a contract, a buyer rep agreement, we have representation, right? That buyer or seller have representation. However, when there is no broker agreement, no relationship, They're a customer, right? That customer is not represented. Non-representation. Some of these seem like they might be difficult, but they're not, right? We're doing fill in the blanks. A listing agreement in which the listing agent is the only agent with the ability to earn a commission on the sale of the seller's property. No commission will be due to the broker if the seller finds the buyer. Okay, so there's a listing agreement. Whether the seller, if the seller brings the buyer, they don't pay a commission. If a realtor, the listing agent, or any other realtor brings a contract, a ready, willing, and able buyer, the seller pays the commission. So what kind of listing is that? Okay, so there's different listings, right? Not that many. There's like maybe 4 different types of listings. Well, I'm not counting, separate like residential, commercial, and all those are types of listings, right? But the type of representation, exclusive right to sell. Oh, come on, clicker. Exclusive agency. Very good, Rosaura. Jen said exclusive right to sell. Exclusive right to sell is whether the seller or the realtor procure the contract, procure the buyer, okay, bring an offer, the brokerage gets paid. However, when the seller brings the buyer and they don't have to pay a commission, then it's an exclusive agency listing. So what's missing from this? Right to sell. So what you chose, Jen, the right to sell means doesn't matter who brings the buyer or the contract, the brokerage gets paid. But exclusive agency listing is when the seller doesn't have to pay if they bring the buyer. So the realtor brokerage gets to do all the marketing, but the seller has a lot of contacts and they end up bringing the contract. They're free and clear. Okay. No commission is due. We don't like to take those type. Okay. But they do happen. Next, 40. Natural surface of the earth and everything attached to it. So the natural surface of the earth and anything that's attached to that earth, right? So on this picture here, you've got the earth here, but then you've got what? Buildings on top of it, houses, developments. What is that called? Natural surface of the earth and everything attached to it. What is that term? Okay, someone said land. Rosaura said land. Very good. Land. So how was it worded? Natural surface of the earth and everything attached to it. That's the land. It's the land and its improvements, right? But first you've got to have the earth, the land. Very good. Number of properties ready, willing, and able buyers are prepared to purchase. What is the number of properties ready, willing, and able buyers are prepared to purchase? Anybody? I'm trying to move my screens to the other page so that I can see who's on Facebook. Demand. So the number of properties ready, willing, and able buyers are prepared to purchase. That's the economics of demand and supply. It's an interesting way to write those words, right? The demand and supply, okay, there's a demand, that's the number of properties that buyers are prepared to purchase. So buyers are demanding, a number of properties to purchase. And these are ready, willing, and able buyers, right? They're pre-approved, they're ready to go buy, they've got the funds. So that is demand. A borrower in a mortgage transaction. What is a borrower in a mortgage transaction? So got kicked off again. Not sure what's going on today. So you are right, mortgagor. A beautiful weather. There must be something in the cloud affecting the satellites because it keeps kicking me off. And the internet is responding very slow. Taking over the contractual obligations of another. So this is number 43, taking over the contractual obligations of another. So you have a contract, okay, that a person or a mortgage that somebody has obligations to, but now they're giving it to somebody else. So someone is taking the obligation. So let's say I had a mortgage and Joe Smith wants to take it over from me because I want to get rid of it. So what is it called when Joe Smith wants to take over my contractual obligation? Okay, Susie says assumes. Anybody else? Assignment of contract. Well, this is a mortgage. What's it say up there? I think this is the second time we do this. So Joe Smith took over my obligation of the loan. That is an assumption. Okay, they assume it. Very good, Susie. No. Number 44. This reminds me of Monopoly, except in Monopoly, it's either greenhouses or, red houses, little houses, or huge green hotels, multiplex units, right? Love Monopoly. Agreement between a borrower and lender in which the borrower's property is pledged as collateral for repayment of the loan. Agreement between a borrower and lender in which the borrower's property is pledged as collateral for repayment of the loan. So what is that answer? Here we go. A mortgage, right? A mortgage. Okay, let's go back. So Jen wrote promissory note. So the promissory note does not get recorded. The mortgage does. So the agreement between the borrower and the lender, that is the mortgage, or in Texas, it's called the deed of trust. So most states from central to west use deed of trust, and states from central to east use a mortgage. But they're basically the same thing. The difference is that one has a non-judicial foreclosure, the other has a judicial foreclosure. So remember, I mentioned MJ, mortgage is judicial. The mortgage type of loan has to go to a court to get approval from the judge for a foreclosure. Mortgage, judicial. Deed of trust, non-judicial. Okay, remember that? MJ, mortgage, judicial. Deed of trust is non-judicial. All right. An estimate of value prepared by real estate licensee, which is useful for determining an appropriate listing or offer price, may not be referred to as an appraisal. Okay, so we are realtors. What do we provide a buyer or a seller to provide an estimate of value? So here we go. Competitive market analysis. No, it said not appraiser. Okay? Remember to read the question carefully. It says may not be referred to as an appraisal. So it's not an appraiser. An estimate. So the estimate is a document, right? Of value prepared by a real estate licensee. We as realtors, we prepare competitive market analysis or comparative. Okay, the competitive will include actives and sold. Yes, ACMA, very good. CM, competitive market analysis, so compete, right? A seller is competing with other sellers, so we want to present them with actives, pendings, and sold, so that if we know how long it took to get an offer. We want to make sure we don't price the property higher than our competitors. We want to sell it quicker, and what's sold within the last 6 months. That is a competitive. The comparable only has sold, and that's usually what we show to a buyer. Got it? Very good. CMA. CMA, it could have been comparative, right? But CMA works. Number 46, an indicator for changes in the market, such as prime rate or consumer price index. An indicator for changes in the market, such as prime rate or consumer price index. Think about it, type your answer. The index. So what is the index? The index is the indicator for changes in the market, such as prime rate or consumer price index, the word index. So lenders are constantly looking at that. And right now, the index is going up and it's affecting loans. I mean, interest rates. Interest rates have gone up in the last couple months about 1% or 0.5%, from 3.5 to 4 and to 4.5. So this is the time to buy because the interest rates are still low and they are going up. Well, there's not as low as 2.5%, but they're still low compared to history. Next, 47, an agreement that requires both parties to perform certain obligations. An agreement that requires both parties to perform certain obligations. Okay, not just one party, but both parties. So at a certain point of a sales contract, both parties have to perform. During the option period, only one party performs. So when both have to perform, what is that called? Think about it and type your answer. Ready or not, here we go. A bilateral contract, right? It's two-sided. Seller has to perform, buyer has to perform. So that is when both parties in a contract have to perform. Oops, that's not what I meant. Both parties have to perform in the sales agreement, purchase and sale agreement. During the option period, only the buyer is performing. That is called a unilateral agreement, right? During the option period, it could be 3 days, 5, 7, 10, however much is agreed between the buyer and the seller. On commercial properties, it's usually longer, but on residential, it can be 0 to 10 days or so, sometimes more. That is a unilateral agreement because the buyer is doing their due diligence while the seller waits. But when both have to perform, every purchase and sale agreement is a bilateral. There are two persons involved. So next definition, number 48. So very good for those of you who answered bilateral. Charge imposed by a government entity for the cost of improvements and services, such as roads, streets, lighting, and library services within the district receiving the benefit of the services. So a charge imposed by a government entity, the county, the city, okay, for the cost of improvements and services, building roads, streets, curb and gutter, installing lighting, library services that we all have to pay for, okay, when we own property within a certain district. And that district is receiving the benefits of the services. The district is the people who live in that district is receiving the benefits. Okay, so type your answer. So far, I've got property taxes. Hey, I'm having fun in the background, just waiting for you all. I like this. It's more fun instead of just quiet. I learn better with music. Maybe not rock, but I learn better. Special assessment. But yes, it is from property taxes. Okay, it comes out of the property taxes, but there could also be an additional special assessment, right? So ad valorem, property taxes. So it is a special assessment within the property taxes. Sometimes a subdivision, an HOA or something may have for improvement of the roads, improvement of curb and gutter, that can be added at a later time of the development. So that's an additional assessment included in the property taxes or for that subdivision. Oh my gosh, I just gave you the, oops, sorry about that. I'm clicking away. My fingers are doing the clicking. Supply and demand, nope. Special assessment, right? That goes under property taxes or in a subdivision improvement of the sidewalks, curb and gutter, whatever else, more lighting and such. Next, 49. A document containing relevant information about a subdivision that must be given to a prospective purchaser under the Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. So a report, okay, it says here a report containing relevant information about a particular subdivision, not the city, not the county, not the state, but a subdivision that must be given to a prospective buyer. Okay, a customer, a client, they're a prospective buyer under the Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. Okay, so what will that be? So I wonder what feeding the ducks music is like. That's maybe a little bit better studying music. Better than the other one. So here we go. What is it? A property report, right? A property report. That's a document. That could be what we label as CCRs, conditions, covenants, and restrictions, the subdivision, restrictions as to what is being allowed, okay, on that subdivision. So a property report. Okay. Give you a clue word there, a report, but what kind of a report? Okay, it is a property report about that subdivision or the lot in that particular subdivision. Number 50. Grid system of lines with baselines running east and west and meridians running north and south, applied over most of the land added to the United States after 1785. This is a type of survey, okay, that is used in some states, not all. So there's, a couple different types of surveys. This is one of them. The grid system of lines with baselines running east and west and meridians running north and south. So it's a big square, 6 miles by 6 miles, because it has 36 sections. I'm giving you a little bit of a clue. So what is that? Grid system of lines. What type of survey? The government survey system. So there's the government survey system. This has 36 sections. It is 6 miles by 6 miles. It's a big square and it's predominantly used in large acreage areas. When I lived in Oregon, that's what they would use. Within the city, it's lot and block with meets and bounds. Okay. All right. So that was 50 words. 25 vocabulary for today. So you have any questions, put your comments at the bottom. Let me know what you thought about this, what you thought about the music, giving you a chance to answer. I'm trying to put some, interest, a little bit of excitement into the live classes so it's not so boring. And stay tuned next time for the next 25. So I'll be doing 25 in each class, or in between classes, I will do another 25 until we have all 301 vocabulary complete. Okay? So you've got to learn. You want to pass your exam? Then stay tuned for more vocabulary in the future lessons. Or go back to already pre-recorded. We did 1 through 25 on Wednesday, and today 26 through 50. Until next time, have an awesome day. Remember to watch the next video. Click that, tap that subscribe button, and write a comment down below. And click that little bell so that you're alerted every time I go live. Until next time, have an awesome weekend.